Hi, Bob Crowley here. Welcome to Fundamentals of Project Management. I'm going to go over a few slides that you'll see in the Google Classroom, the slides for week one. We start off by opening up the slide set, the PDF that you'll find in the Google Classroom under the tab Slides. We'll see that the first slide asks, what is a project? That's a very good question. We should be asking that to define exactly what a project is. Our second slide talks about the characteristics of a project, and I think the one characteristic that's really important in this list of characteristics is a specific end goal. Projects have a start and they have an end. And very often we'll start off projects without defining that end goal, the definition of done, what does success look like, and we end up with projects that run on for a very long time and are not effective. If we go to the next slide, we're going to start to think about project management, types of project management. That's what we're going to start covering early on in this course. The two most prevalent styles that you see are waterfall. This is the traditional project management that you might be familiar with. Building a house is a great application for waterfall. It works very well when we have projects that are well defined, that have well-defined steps, don't have a lot of changes involved, and we've probably done it before a million times. We've built lots of houses, so we pretty much know all the steps involved with building a house. We can list them out in a sequential fashion, and if we look at that in a chart, it looks like a waterfall, so that's why they call it waterfall. The second methodology, which we'll concentrate a lot on in this class, is one of the agile project methodologies, and it's called Scrum. It's a very iterative methodology. We define a problem, we chop it down into little tiny pieces, and we constantly test the results of what we build. But we'll go deeper into that. So waterfall and Scrum are the two types of project management methodologies that we'll be covering. Where do we start? We start with a project charter, and I think this is so important. People don't spend a lot of time on project charters, but they really should. It really defines the who, what, and why of a project. It's really your governance document, if you will. And I've listed a few things that are contained in the project charter. We're going to go in depth in project charters in week 2. You're going to actually see some examples in week 2, and I'm going to ask you to do a little research and find out if there are others out there that might work better for you. If we go to the next slide, we see one example of a different type of project charter. It's called the Canvas, Project Charter Canvas, and it contains some of the items listed in the previous slide, but some other ones too. Like I said, there are a great number of project charter examples out there, and they all contain various things, but they still have that basis of who, what, and why. If we go to the next slide, we see a design brief, just another way to present a project charter. And let's go to the last slide. The exercise that we're going to be doing, like I said, in week 2 is really creating the project charter and thinking about why we're doing this, who we're doing it, why are we doing it, and what are we actually doing. So we're going to define the definition of success, we're going to define our customers, we're going to define the methodologies that we're going to use to get from point A to point B. So this week we're going to concentrate on picking a project. The project doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, I encourage people to have fairly simple projects. The class is really about applying a project management methodology and not the project itself. So simple projects are better. You can take it through the steps. You can choose either waterfall or Scrum. I would encourage you to test Scrum because it's a very flexible project management methodology. And typically I like students to apply Scrum and then decide if waterfall might have worked better for that simple project. And finally, we're going to talk about projects versus operations, and you'll see the presentation material in the Google Classroom about that, and there's also a question for you to answer. So very briefly, that's kind of the overview of what we're going to be covering this very first week. Every week I'll try to put up a little talking head video to talk about where we're going and what we're going to do. You should have gotten an invite to not only this class, but a Slack channel as well. And I really like Slack because it's a communication methodology that doesn't end up in my inbox, and I'm sure all of our inboxes are full of various spam that we don't want. So that is a private communication. Just the people in the class can see that, and it's almost instantaneous. So I really, really like it. So that's about it. Welcome again. I'm Bob Crowley. Feel free to hit me up on Slack or send me an email if you have questions. Thanks. Looking forward to it.